Good day, everyone. It's 11:31. We're going to start. We have a good number of representatives, and we only have 29 minutes with you, and we have a very exciting agenda. So with great delight, I welcome you to the Influencing Change Towards Sustainability workshop, Nature-Based Education. We have two wonderful speakers, Katalin and Wolfram, today, who have a deep background, passion, experience in this field. They're going to do two short talks of 5-6 minutes, so we have lots of time for interaction with you. But who am I? I'm your host. My name is Southey. I am the chair of IUCN's Commission on Education and Communication, the CEC. The CEC is a network of almost 2,000 people from around the world who care about the communication side of nature, the education side of nature, and in their hearts want a bigger tent, a bigger constituency, a bigger community from Hungary to Chile to India, all sharing, celebrating, and creating a deeper connection with nature. Both Wolfram and Katalin are CEC members. In fact, Katalin is the deputy of the commission and my dear colleague. But they have something else in common. They're both very passionate about Nature for All. And Nature for All is a program you're going to hear about in this session. And Nature for All works on the theory of change, that when we connect to nature, when we love nature, that it changes everything we do in life. It changes the way we educate ourselves, it changes the way we vote, it changes the way every time she unmutes, she mutes everybody, she mutes me as well. So I keep having to unmute myself. It's good to be put in one's place every so often. So Nature for All is about connecting and about love. So while we hear these two presentations, I'd love you to do something for Katalin, for Wolfram, and for me, and for each other. I'd like you to share in the chat box, in a short written sense, when did you fall in love with nature? When did you fall in love with nature? Who were you with? Where were you? What was that moment when you fell in love with nature? And we're going to call that back later as we respond to your questions. And I think it's a very powerful point to look at how we amplify a global community of conservation and care. Our first presenter today is Katalin. Katalin is Hungarian. I have had the great pleasure of working with Katalin for 4 years on a weekly, if not daily basis. She's one of my favorite conservationists, one of my favorite educators. Her passion is profound. At the moment, if you look just to her left in the picture, that wonderful book up there is her newest publication, just out this week, last week. And being translated now into English for later. Katalin has both international and Hungarian experience, is also Hungary's focal point to UNESCO. So she sits really at the interface between education, communication, and environment. Over to you, Katalin. Have fun.
Thank you, Sean. I can't resist to say some words about that book at the end, but let's start a little bit earlier. So you asked when we fall in love with nature. I grew up in a small village, and I spent most of my life, except sleeping, outdoor. Sometimes I was gardening with my mother. Sometimes I just played with my friends in the nearby meadow or in a creek. I didn't know how privileged we were. That time I thought that nature has been being always there, and it will be always there. And when we went to the capital, because my grandparents lived there, I felt that I'm seeing the developed world, the future we want. It was something that I wanted to live, and later we made it. I had my studenthood in the university in the capital, and later, at the beginning of my career, I was invited to run a nomadic camp somewhere in the small hills in Hungary, 10 days without electricity, without built infrastructure, without shops nearby, and without cell phones. Can you imagine? I felt immediately at home. We run that camps with my fellow students, or I already graduated, but with some students, mainly from biology teacher students, geology physics students, but we had economists, we had psychologists, and even astronomy students with us. We could see the world through each other's eyes, and we could put together the puzzle for ourselves and for the children, what the life means around. We were so happy there. And later I became a mother, and my daughters, who were there from their, even from their, I don't know, from my pregnancy, wanted to have the camps. I wanted to be the full right in the camps as a participant, not being accompanying with their mother. So I stopped going there. I transferred the leadership, and also the first campers wanted to try their leadership wings. So we passed the leadership on, and it was more than 35 years ago, and the camps are still going on. They are doing, the leadership has a very organic turnover, and they are bringing children year by year. And we made a little research, and we realized that these camps changed many of ours, I mean the leaders, and the students' life as well. What is it if not the transformative education? We are talking throughout this conference, because for those of you who are not participants of the World Conference of the UNESCO on Education for Sustainable Development 2030, I'm just explaining there is a congress, and this webinar is a presentation of the IUCN Commission and the Bavarian Academy of Nature Conservation shared booth. And they are screening from the Congress. And in the Congress, there were several speeches already by scientists and experts on the transformative education and why the education for sustainability is important. So we have the two type of audience, and I just try to explain. And in that booth we have resources, but we are going to share with you here in the chat box as well. And also we are filming some videos, and the whole presentation will be screened and can be seen later on. So let's go back. Let's see those influences I was explaining, those changes, the behavioral change from a different perspective. Later on, I was invited, or I joined the IUCN Commission on Education and Communication. And last year, we were thinking to ask our members what the futures of education means. In this commission, we have more than 2,000 people who are committed for education, communication, behavioral science. We have different stories in our life, but we have shared vision. And we wanted to form this shared vision. Probably many of you who are participating already contributed to that visions and recommendation paper. So we asked our members, how do you see the futures of education and why? And we prepared the report. It's shared. You can see it on the CEC website as well. But in this report, besides having different personal stories, we have a shared vision. Let me to read it, because I think it's important to phrase well. So sustainability can be only achieved if we as humankind stay below the carrying capacity of our planet, and we live the life that let the processes of ecological system to sustain all basic conditions and resources for our life. Therefore, the education has to incorporate a more holistic and integrated living systems approach, and to inspire and re-establish deep connections between humans and nature. We already initiated Nature for All. We have these experiences from our whole life, but it was good to see that more than 150 experts all around the world contributed to this statement. And in the Nature for All, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, our colleagues analyzed researches, more than 120 researches, to find out what leads to the conservation behavior, how connection with nature leads to a conservation behavior. And one evidence we quote a lot is that having positive experience in a wild or a semi-wild territory with a model role, with a role model, has a long-lasting experience. Many adults who has a pro-sustainability, I mean pro-environment, pro-conservation behavior, explain that stories. They were somewhere with a role model. And what a message is for the educators. I hope we have so many educators with us here. A teacher who helps the student have positive experiences and shows how he or she loves the place and connects the children to that are a role model. Our young adults, our students, the leaders of the camps are role models. We are influencing our children's life for a pro-environmental behavior, for a sustainability, for a sustainable life. And there is other beside this, because we were looking in the Nature for All, it was initiated in the IUCN. Of course, we wanted to see what really leads to the pro-environmental behavior. But analyzing these researches, there are so many other evidences that shows that having some connection, even not with a wild or a national park, just even a city park, a school garden, even to be able to watch a tree from the classroom, leads to a better academic performance, a better school performance, deal with the behavior challenges, creativity, and so many other things. So if you see these researches, you can quote these researches, but if you can visit our resources, you can quote these researches. But it's amazing how connection with nature influences even our learning and also our health. So let's do something for it. Let's use this connection. We have another strategic document. It's called Education for Conservation, because we would like to show the schools and also the conservation societies how to plan education strategically to lead to the conservation behavior. But let me explain another story instead of quoting several researches and report paper you are able to read. Thank you, Sean, mentioning this school book. When we were planning the school book, this is the school book on sustainability. It's a curricula for the 8th to 9th grade students on sustainability. We had a team that has different backgrounds. I am also not a nature science teacher. I am a mathematics teacher. I'm a teacher of mathematics originally. But we started to discuss what to squeeze into this curriculum or what to leave out, and how to show the connection of our life and the different roles we are playing, the different behavior in the different places we are in, how to connect these things. And even with people and the teachers from different backgrounds, we agreed that we have to show the connection with the nature. We have to use nature as a basic element. The nature shows the systems. The nature shows how things are equalizing themselves, how they go wrong and how they go well, so we can use it. And also, if we can connect our personal consumer behavior or our decisions when we are working, when we will have our future jobs, or if we will be leader of an NGO or a politicians, we are making decisions. How our decisions are affecting our life, that the nature serve us, how it's how this connection to the ecosystem, the biodiversity, leads to our living our life, or vice versa, how this works. And we agreed that we have to use the children's life, the different parts of their life, and to show these connections. How the wise maintaining of our national resources, how wise usage of our national resources, how our wise decisions are supporting each other, and how the well-known environmental disasters, the climate change, the water extreme, connects to the nature, and vice versa. And this is the basis of our life. So this is, and we started, and we have a really great feedback from students and teachers that these connections are very important and important to know. But to be able to build these connections, we have to appreciate, we have to value, and we have to love the nature around us. And in the next presentation, I think you will learn one method how to build this love. Thank you.
Thank you, Katalin. That was wonderful. And what I love is hearing your narrative at the same time as the rest of us are getting to read these stories. Because the stories exactly connect to what you were saying. Many of the stories, Rosie's stories, Analuka's stories, talk about the power of a parent figure. Some people are out in nature, but some people have it in their backyard or their school. And I love that the fact that the real life stories match what you bring to us, Katalin. So big thank you. And thank you all for sharing your stories. Continue to share them. And if you have questions for Katalin, please start to put them in the chat. We'll be harvesting questions from the chat to our speakers. So you can start to put your questions down. My next speaker is a model of complexity. And one thing that we know in the world as environmentalists is that the world is complex. Wolfram is also complex. He is German, but he works for the Bavarian Academy of Conservation, a research and education organization. He is a father of two, has a PhD, of course, from Brazil, is a passionate cartoonist, and I love that he is a photographer like me. But he is an educator in his soul, but he's also very kind. So he's had technical problems in the past with Zoom, so he put his presentation together for us to avoid us having the traditional problem of Zoom problems back and forth from talks. But I did insist that Wolfram take a second to introduce himself before we show you the video of his presentation. Over to you, Wolfram.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Now, yeah, you already told a lot about me, but the main speak is about animals and animals' life and how to use them. And I just show you the next presentation. It's on a video, and we will share. Sue, I hope you will share the link. It's also on YouTube, so you can even just recognize this short presentation right now. And we start directly with it, and then after I can be there for some questions. Thank you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, for me as biologist, it's very easy to get excited about small and large miracles of our nature. But my key questions are, however, how is it possible to pass down this enthusiasm for nature? How do I get children or adults to take responsibility for her? And how do I get people to be excited about life? The answer, with life itself. With living animals are the best and most touchable evidence of the wonders of our nature. That's why we started Animal Life Project and later on the Eleanor Project. We bring living animals to school, into the classrooms, by experiential learning. We are the Bavarian Academy for Nature Conservation and Landscape Management and the Academy for Teacher Training and Personal Management. Later on joined many international partners. Some background information first. Within over 70 activities all around living animals, we teach by experience about animal needs and their habitats in the wild. The welfare of the animal in the classroom, but also in nature, is a core of all learning. You will find all necessary information on animal welfare, law, ecology and educational goals in our campaign manual. Take a look at our Elena brochure. Let me tell you two stories of the real life with Animal Life project. One was a boy with his butterfly. Together with children, we raised butterflies in the school class. We fed the caterpillars of a very common species that had been previously collected in the wild. Until these pupate and some butterflies hatched. It's really an exciting day at school. After we brought the butterflies back to the exact place where we had taken the caterpillars and released the animals back into the wild. 1 year later, a boy told the teacher that he found his butterfly again. He said, "It must have been my butterfly. It was exactly in the place where I released it." Just to think about, which school campaign is still on the minds of the students after 1 year? The boy got outside in nature and he has visited his place again. That is exactly the connection we want to achieve. Another activity was with spiders. One girl in the class was very scared and better near panic of spiders. And as you can see, the tarantula is very impressive. It's even for me. The girl did not even want to go into the classroom where the spider was. It must have been awful for her, mainly because otherwise she was one of the toughest students. However, the class gave her all the time, and it took good 1.5 hours to get her in the room. A colleague of mine was nearly just as afraid as the girl, but she, as an adult, wanted to show that courage can overcome fear. Well, see for yourself, my adult colleague, she shrugs back. The girl instead gathered all up her courage and came closer and closer. Of course she wanted to be there with the other children. She wants to take part in the experience and understand why everyone else was so enthusiastic about the spider. And she made it. Look at it.
Hey, du hast es geschafft. Super.
The applause from this class was her confirmation. She had made it. All of this is only possible if teachers take the motivation, the time and the confidence to get there. Teachers are the key. We have to support them as far as possible. Living animals that live wild on our doorsteps can provide this enthusiasm for life itself without doubt. When you consciously hold life in your hands and you know that you are responsible for it now, this will make the difference in you. This will connect you with nature. Try it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry it wasn't a slideshow originally, it's a real video, and I hope when you go back to the link to the YouTube video, then you can watch it fluently and in a better quality. Yeah, but I hope that the message is transferred to you.
I personally love this format. To actually see the child with the insect and responding and the class clapping is 1,000 times more effective than another PowerPoint. So thank you, Wolfram. We do not have a lot of time, everyone. We have 4 minutes left, but just so you know, Katalin and Wolfram and I can stay on a few minutes longer, and they're not going to close the room down immediately. So if you want to stop and have a dialogue after the 12 o'clock my time, 3-minute finishing, you're welcome to do so. We have some great questions, but I also noticed my dear friend Bernard from UNESCO in the room. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Bernard. I want a comment from you as a UNESCO focal point? What about this connection issue, this love issue? And if you have a question for Wolfram and Katalin. Sorry to put you on the spot, Bernard.
No problem. Hello, everyone. A question or to both of them? No, not really. I think it's more that, yeah, it was great. It's a great way to talk about nature, conservation, and all these issues. I would say, for me, loved the little video. And what Kathleen was talking about, yeah, I can relate both how I got introduced to nature and got to loving it, and how my kids, my two daughters, also got involved. I mean, I think a couple of things. It fits right into what we're pushing for at UNESCO in terms of education for sustainability and educating on biodiversities and environmental issues. That you in school, whether in school or outside of school. Of course, the facts and figures are important, but what is more important is kind of the social, emotional type of relationship that we can cultivate, not only between, well, us and nature, but also between ourselves, because we are part of nature. So I would say my comment would be, I would highlight a couple of things, a couple of C's. One is, of course, conservation. This is the topic of what is there. Second C is community. Again, we are part of a community. We have one planet. We're part of a community of living beings and living creatures around. Let's not forget that. Another C, communication. We have to share our feelings and our enthusiasm to get more people involved and more people to change things. Another C is creativity. You have to find different ways of doing it. I would say, unfortunately, in too many schools around the world, the science class is so boring that the kids don't even think of doing a career in it. So let's change that. And then finally, I would say the final C is cooperation. We all have to join hands to do that. So this was a very quick comment on all this. And I'm going to have to jump out because I have a technical meeting about some of these sessions.
Thank you, Bernard.
Thank you for
Bernard,
inviting me.
all of your colleagues for this wonderful conference in Berlin virtually.
And thank you for connecting with us.
Great.
Take
care.
I would like to offer a really deep thank you to everyone for spending your time with us. I loved it. A special thank you to Katalin and Wolfram for your stories, your insights, your wisdom. Remember, we want you to join the Nature for All family. We want you to join CEC, and the details will be up on the screen after, so you can get the direct links. We want to see you there. But mostly, each of you, please keep up your work of inspiring a culture of conservation and care. Thank you, everyone.